desires. Is there any other more persuasive desire than the desire to save one's fleshly existence? Some might argue that there is, but I don't know. We know of Jesus according to Philippians 2. Jesus became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. And in Christ, we in him have been crucified with Christ, and we have also been baptized into his death, according to Romans 6. The death that Jesus died, he died to sin once for all. But the life that he lives to God. Even so, Romans 6, 10 and 11 say, even so, consider yourselves to be dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. To take up your cross is to take up your implement of death to yourself, to sin, to whatever it is that would impede you from doing the will of your God and Father. The cross for Jesus was the will of God. To take up our cross daily is to take up the will of God for us, even to the point of what? Death. I want to close with a reminder of Genesis 22. Genesis 22. As I was preparing this, I've been going back through Genesis again. And I was thinking about this. And as I was thinking about Titus, the Lord reminded me of Abraham. Listen to this. Genesis 22. Now it came about after these things that God tested Abraham. This will be familiar to most of you. God tested Abraham. And he said to him, Abraham. And Abraham said, here I am. And God said, take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love. Now God gave a promise to Abraham that through Isaac his descendants would be named. God gave him a promise that through Isaac his descendants would be named. The inheritance would be passed on through Isaac. And yet here we have God speaking to Abraham saying, take now your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I tell you. How many of you know this story? Now, put yourself in Abraham's place for just a second. What thoughts might cross your mind? You'd be like, Lord, didn't you say that my descendants would come through this son? And Lord, are you really telling me to offer my son as a burnt offering? Now, can you imagine the conflict that would be going on in your head? But what else might you need to take into consideration with respect to the God who's told you to offer up your only son as a burnt offering? Okay, so he's the one who gave him to me. So he's the one who gave him. He's also the one who gave the promise. What do I know about God and his promises? He's got to keep his word. He's faithful. But so what else should I take into consideration? If God, who gave his word to me, is now telling me to offer up my son, what else do I need to think about? If my son dies, who's God? Who's God? He's the giver of life, breath, and all things. He's the creator of heaven and earth. If he did that, God's telling me to offer my son. He's the one who gave me my son. I offer my son, guess what? I'm confident that the one who gave him to me when I was 100 years old is the same one who can what? Maybe, just maybe, he can raise him up from the dead. Hebrews actually says that. Hebrews 11 tells us that Abraham supposed that God was even able to raise men from the dead. So Abraham rose early, verse 3, in the morning, and he saddled the donkey and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and arose and went to the place which God had told him. On the 3rd day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place from a distance. And Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go yonder, and we will worship and return to you." Abraham said to his servants that we will return to you. Abraham didn't say he would return. Abraham said we would return. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son. This sounds vaguely familiar. There was another father at one point that put wood on his son. Remember that? His son had to carry the wood to his place of sacrifice. Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took his son in the hand, and he took in his hand the fire and the knife, so the 2 of them walked on together. And Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am, my son." Isaac was old enough to understand. He said, "Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" And Abraham said, "God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." So the 2 of them walked on together. Then they came to the place of which God had told him, and Abraham built an altar there, and arranged the wood, and bound his son Isaac, and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand, and he took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham!" He said, "Here I am." He said, "Do not stretch out your hand against the lad, and do nothing to him, for I know that you fear God, that you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Do you think there are any worldly desires tugging at Abraham? Abraham had to deny ungodliness and worldly desires. He had to deny his desire to trust in Isaac, his son. He had to deny the desire to trust Isaac rather than the Lord to carry on his name. He had to deny the desire to covet his relationship with Isaac at the expense of obedience to the Lord. Abraham had to deny his desire to merely appear righteous without actually walking in righteousness. I hear you, Lord. Okay, taking my son. Hey, Sarah, you got that rubber knife laying around? Yeah, it's back in the back. Did Abraham take a rubber knife with him? Was this fake fire? This wasn't an appearance of righteousness. He was doing what was right. He was prepared to go to the point of death. Abraham had to deny his desire to exalt his own will to keep his son. Now, try to put yourself in his place for a second. How many of you have ever done something like that? Do you value human relationships more than submitting to the will of God? He had to deny his desire to exalt his own will to keep his son above the Lord's will to offer him. He had to deny his desire to save Isaac's life in a way that failed to trust God's covenant and God's power rather than do God's clearly stated will. Trusting God's faithfulness, trusting God's power. Abraham had to deny his desire to control the circumstances of his life. Do you guys find yourselves ever trying to control the circumstances of your life? Any controllers in here? Any life controllers? You're trying to control the circumstances of your life? Abraham had to deny the desire to control the circumstances of his life. How many of you, anybody in here trying to control the circumstances of your children's lives? He had to resist the desire to control the circumstances of Isaac's life, of the survival of his own line. By employing his own wisdom, he had to deny this desire to spare himself, to spare his son, by employing his own wisdom, by employing his own reasoning, his own understanding, his own power, rather than resting in God's. Lastly, he had to deny his desire to throw an angry fit against God, who gave him Isaac. He had to resist the desire to unjustly accuse God, who gave him the son, of cruelty and injustice. Why should we walk in a manner fitting for sound doctrine? Because of the grace of God. Because by God's grace, He has saved us. And because by God's grace, He is teaching us. He is instructing us. And we need to learn from the Lord our God. We need to learn from His Word to deny ungodliness, to deny worldly desires, that we may live sensibly, righteously, and godly in the present age. We'll come back to that next week. Will you pray with me? Father, our flesh is extremely persuasive. The desires of this world are extremely persuasive. But you teach